Well, hello guys, Ian65 here again. Welcome to part 2 of the new Flight Sim A320 Airbus series. We took off from New Orbexel Airport in the first part, and we're flying to Rome Lyra. Now we're just 21, coming up for 22,000 feet for a flight level of 27. Made a bit of a hash of things in the first video. There was a couple of things that have been pointed out to me that I did wrong. The first of all, I inputted the incorrect fuel block value. I put that in as 50 instead of 5, so I do apologise for that. And of course that had a performance issue. The other problem I had was there's a procedure for the performance side of things. When you set it up, you have to set the flaps first. So I should have set flaps to 1 first. Let me just show you. Let me just come down here. Okay, so if we go into the performance page, it's actually not there now, is it? No, you can't see it. Okay, so in the performance page, I should have set the flaps 1 first before the V. I've clicked on the V speeds, which is why we had such a high takeoff value. So I didn't help myself there, but I've since spent the last week combing through stuff, and I've learned quite a few things, things that I did wrong. Today we're going to be attempting a full ILS automated landing at Lyra, and we're just going to be hitting our cruise level in a moment. Let's just come back down again. Okay, so as you can see, we're actually 198 nautical miles from Lyra. We're going to be landing at on runway 15 ILS approach. Okay, so yep, everything's good. Where the plane's behaving correctly. I've now, because of all the bits and pieces that I sorted out last time around, you can see now that the glare shield, all of this stuff now is being managed by the FMC. When we took off in part 1, I couldn't get the speed to go into automated, and that was largely because of the block fuel issue and the V1 speed settings that I sort of messed up a bit. You might have noticed, panning around here, I treated myself in the week to chase plane, and I've been messing around for the last few days, panning around and setting things up. I have to say, worth every pound. I think it was about $40, so about 30 quid in sterling. And you know, I'd look through all the tutorials and stuff, and it is pretty fantastic. It's made such a difference to the way I look around the cockpit. As you can see, you know, these are views that you just couldn't get in the standard stuff. So yeah, it's great to be able to finally, you know, sort of just press one button and just go around and you know, as you would do without having to sort of pan the hat around on your joysticks. As you can see, you know, even the outside views are much better, and they're views that I've actually used the community presets. I've been quite lazy really, because I'm still learning how to use Chase Plane, but I have to say that some of the presets that the community have put in are what I would have probably you know, sort of used anyway, so well done. Anyway, back to the tutorial. Let's just check. Okay, so we're still 170 nautical miles from Lyra, and one of the things that we can do, let me just one second. If we go into the progress page, now that I've actually got this working correctly, you can see here that it gives you our cruise level, optimum and maximum. Obviously I would have flown at the optimum. I'm using PFPX obviously for planning, but for, you know, it's such a short distance, just thought we'd use 27,000 today. Right, so one very useful feature in the progress page is if we go to click on report, you can now see here that this gives us the next couple of waypoints, and it also gives us the top of descent information. So we should be at top of descent. Well, we've got 62 nautical miles to go. Distance to Lyra is 162, so you know, and that's a predicted obviously time, which is in Zulu hours. So yeah, so it's a very handy page for readying ourselves for descent. Okay, so just checking into the RadNav page, this gives us the ILS frequency for runway 15 at Lyra, and yeah, so it's just check. You can check that information against the charts, obviously. So I'm just having a look around, see what's available here. Obviously I'm not using all the options today, this is just a fairly basic flight, but yeah, it's all good. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be setting up some things for our descent shortly. So I'll come back in a few miles' time, and we'll set that up. Okay, guys, we're just looking on our progress page again, and as you can see now we're 33 miles from top of descent. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go up to the glare shield, and we're going to alter our height so that when we're ready to descend, we've got that in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the flight plan, and I'm just going to scroll down. I think it's 3,000 feet. Normally I would put it down to 10, but I'm doing this. Alright, okay, so we're gonna set it a height down to 2,500 feet. So let's just go back up to the glare shield. Okay, so you can currently see that we're at 27,000 feet. So I couldn't see the to change it from thousands to hundreds of feet from that angle, so I'm just going to come over this side and turn it down to 2,500. Okay, so what's going to happen is that in 20 miles time we are going to see something up here. Let me just come back up. Okay, sorry, I've got a terrible cold this week, so sorry about my voice. Right, over here we're going to see, as soon as we hit top of descent, we're going to see a sign come up here saying deaccelerate, and that's at that point we then push the button in to start our descent. We left click this button for the altitude, and it will start to descend the aircraft. And as you can see, gone too far. As you can see, this white, just turn that off. Right, this arrow, white arrow down, completely different from the 737 top of descent. That's actually our top of descent marker, and as you can see, we're rapidly running towards that. So as soon as we hit that, we'll see deaccelerate over this side, and at that point we then push the altitude, left click that, and it will start our descent. So we'll monitor that. Hang on a second, let me just pop this one out. Okay, so we're just waiting now. As soon as we get to this arrow, we'll see deaccelerate on this side, and then we'll left click the altitude in. So this should happen any second now, guys. We're right up on top of descent. We'll look over here. There it is, deaccelerate. So we're going to left click that button, and you can see now that the managed solid dot still appears there, and the aircraft should start to go down, descend. That's it. There we are. So, yeah, that's just something to look out for, because again, you know, I mean, my speciality is the NGX 737, and you know, normally you just alter this down to whatever, the 2,500, and as soon as it hits top of descent, it will start to descend. but in the Airbus you have to monitor this and be ready to descend yourself manually. Some fantastic sounds in the cockpit. You know, you can hear the sort of engines in the background, you know, sort of spooling down slightly as we start our descent. Okay, so let's just jump up to the overhead panel, and we're going to stick the seatbelt sign on. Do we need anything else on here? Not at the moment. So let's go back down to the... hang on, captain's view. Right, so the next thing we need to switch on is the landing system, and that automatically brings up the ILS frequency for the runway that we're going to be landing on today, which is 15. So that gives you that information there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now, Lyra has a really short runway. It's about 6,000 feet. However, I did try to put max on the auto brakes. Let me just come back to the glare shield. Actually, there's one thing I did actually forget to do, and that's set this chronograph going, but it's a bit late now. But ideally, when you start your takeoff roll, you set the chronograph to on. I set the clock to run, but yeah, you should do that. Anyway, auto brake. Let's just... right, it won't go to max, it'll only go to medium. So, you know, if I was landing at Lyra in the 737, I'd have had that on max, because it only just about manages to stop, even with reverse thrust. So, okay, so medium, obviously that's all it's going to let us have, so that's what we're going to set it for. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to arm the ground spoilers. We just right click this, and if we go back up to the so I'm just looking at my chase plane views. Okay, so we can see here that the ground spoilers are armed, seatbelts are on, no smoking signs, and this information here is just the fuel being pumped around the different tanks to ensure stability for the aircraft, and also that there's enough fuel for the engines. Okay, so you can see now from this report that we're 71 nautical miles out from landing. This is our estimated time of arrival. So we've got, what is it, 58 now, so we've got about 13 minutes before we land. Okay, so there's some information that we need to input here into the approach page. So how do we get there? Click on performance and go to next. We're in descent at the moment. Go to next phase. Now we need to put some information in, which I've taken off of AS16. So we're going to put in the QNH for Lyra, which is currently 1011, and we're going to line select it into there. The current temperature is 17 degrees centigrade. Put that in there. And now decision height. Now I need to read up on this because the elevation of Lyra is 427 feet. Now I'm not sure, I should have read up on this before I did the second part of the tutorial, but I'm not sure whether that should be 200 feet above, so it should be 627, or whether you just put in 200 and the aircraft already understands the elevation. So answers on a postcard for that one, please, if anybody knows, but I will look it up in the week. But I'm just going to put in 200 for now because I did another flight and that seemed to work. So DH decision height. Now I've currently set the wind off. I know that's cheating, but I just want to do this tutorial without any wind effects. So I'm going to put in the wind as 0 into here. So now we're set up. We know that we're gonna the approach page. We're going to come into an ILS 15, runway 15. A QNH, temperature, wind, decision height, and the flaps for landing are going to be full flaps, and our VAP speed, which is our landing speed, will be 141, and all of this will be managed by the FMC, so we don't need to worry about any of that. So yeah, so that's all the information that we need there. And let's just go back to the flight plan. We're 57 nautical miles away now, yeah, so we're just gonna monitor this until we get down to the star approach, and then the only thing we need to set then is the approach phase. Okay, gentlemen and ladies, we're not far out now, about 46 nautical miles. As you can see, we're down to 11,500 feet. Actually, you can see now where the decision height shows up there, 200. We'll be approaching Lyra from the north, and we will be landing to the west today. Bit of a strange star. I did fly this, practiced it the other day. Let me just see if I can zoom in a bit. Okay, so basically the star, we almost come over the airport. We turn to the east, and then we actually do almost a round lap, and then come back on ourselves and straight in. And the only other thing that I need to learn to do, and I'm assuming it's the same as the Aerosoft, is hit the approach, switch over on the glare shield there. Once we are almost on the glide slope, but we'll have a look at that in a moment. Oh, now I've forgotten to turn the lights on. Okay, so let's turn those lights on, and landing lights, should have done that a while ago. When we hit 10,000, I don't think anything else needs to be touched here. No, there's no anti-ice. No, that's all done. So the only thing that we need to do now is obviously monitor height and speed, position, and operate the flaps. And hopefully this aircraft is going to do everything else for us. Now, one of the things that we're going to do is when we do actually hit the glide slope, or sorry, the approach phase, is we're going to activate the second autopilot. If you don't operate this, then the aircraft won't perform a completely fully automated landing on its own. So you must ensure that you engage that, but we'll do that shortly. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this to the current hectopascals, and that is 1011. And unlike the Aerosoft version, you have to do that on both sides, and you have to also alter the standby as well. Just click that. I can't actually see it, so I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to set that to the same for grab hold of it. There it is. Okay, so all of these now are set to the correct QNH. So as you can see, we're getting quite near to Lyra now, and as you can see here, this is what I was talking about with this star approach. We're going to turn right, and we are literally going to do a loop and come back on ourselves straight into Lyra, runway 15. So let me just see if I can. Yeah, you can see it a little bit clearer there. So we're literally going to fly over the end of runway 15, turn right, do a loop, and hit the ILS and the glide slope here, and yeah, so that's what's going to happen. Okay, so we're rapidly approaching the airport now. We've just got to keep monitoring things and see how we go. Just for those people that want to know, there's a lot of hype over expensive GPUs, CPUs, etc. I'm using a chill blast system that I bought 3 years ago. It's an i7 4790K, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm still, believe it or not, using a GTX 780. Yeah, I'm getting these results. I'm using, obviously I mix this video and produce it in 1080 HD. So it does look fairly good. I'm fairly pleased with it. I'm running all the add-ons you can imagine. When we land at Lyra in a moment, that's the Aerosoft Lyra, which I highly recommend, especially in P3D 4.1 with the nighttime lighting. Looks pretty good. But yeah, I can definitely recommend it. Okay, so you can see Lyra right in front of us, and we're about to turn right as soon as we hit that. And you can see it's so close to the airport, so it's an unusual star approach to bring the aircraft so close to to the airport, but there we are. Okay, so we're turning now, and the next thing we need to do is we're going to operate flaps 1. So let's go down to the center console. Sorry, pedestal. And we're going to go for flaps 1. So we have to keep monitoring this just to make sure that we are at the right flap setting. And we're now going to select flaps 2. In fact, you can actually see from here. Hang on, let me just lower those flaps. Okay, you can actually see the flap limits here, so you can see that. Hang on a second. Where are we? We're rapidly descending. So you can see the knot limit for the flaps just there. Now I'm going to go to flaps 3. Okay, so we've just got to make sure that we're doing everything correct here now. Let's just go back up to the glare shield. So we're now going to operate the approach phase, and we do that when we hit these markers here. Just got to make sure that obviously the aircraft turns, and we get the localizer and then the approach. So I'm now going to hit approach, and you'll see the aircraft, well, it's going to turn anyway to follow this, but it's now hopefully going to hit the localizer, which, as you can see, has got a star here at the moment. And we're also going to engage autopilot 2, and you can see now that the Cat 3 dual comes up. Auto throttle, glide slope and localizer, and we should, when we hit the localizer, that should change in a moment. And we're now going to select flaps 3, sorry, flaps 4. As you can see, the aircraft still following the the star. And we're now going to lower the gear. Now we seem to be a little bit off centre here. It's just I would have expected it to have come round there and lined up perfectly, but we might have to take avoiding action here, guys. But we'll see how things go. As you can see, we're on the glide slope now and the localizer. Just hoping now that this thing's going to come round and land properly.
1000.
Okay, so we're full flap. We've got our landing gear down. We've got 3 greens, auto brakes there for us. We've set that. So yep, it's turning. So here we go, guys. I'm just gonna concentrate on landing this thing for you. But here we go.
500. 400. 100 above. 200 minimum. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Retard, retard.
Well, we made it, guys. We actually made it. Okay, so yeah, quite happy with that. I'm not sure what that red warning sign is. That's just to tell us that we've disengaged the autopilot. Okay, so we need to just jump up to the overhead and turn a few things on and off. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the landing lights off. Runway turn off lights, don't need that on now. We'll just set this to taxi, and we'll turn off, we'll put the strobe back to auto, and we're going to start the APU now as well. When we pull up at the gate. Another couple of things that we're going to do, we're going to go down to the pedestal. As you can see, we've retracted the flaps, the speed brakes are now stowed. Everything else, we're going to set the transponder to standby, and we're going to turn off the predictive wind shear system as well. Yeah, so I actually landed here a couple of years ago, and visited Rome for 4 days. Came in actually on a Ryanair 737 800, and they seem to be the aircraft that fly here most frequently from the UK, and I can tell you that the airport layout here is absolutely spot on. I love Aerosoft airports. They're not quite as nice as the Orbex ones, but that's to be expected because obviously the scenery, they write this sort of major scenery software anyway, so it's always going to together nicely, or nicer than you know, the sort of other add-on stuff. But it, you know, for a little regional airport, it is actually quite a nice thing, and you know, as I say, it's unbelievably realistic as far as the buildings are concerned and the runway, etc. Also, you know, there's another thing I'd just like to explain to people. Some of you are having problems with the steering tiller system. Now, there is actually an option that you go into, which if I get time, I'll show you in a moment. But basically, you can either press the comma button and use that in conjunction with turning left or right with your joystick, or you can there's an option for you to sticky this control, so that you just press the comma once and you don't need to press it again to do things for it to stay on. So yeah, it's trial and error, but I've pressed the comma once, and you can now just use your normal sort of rudder controls on your joystick to turn the aircraft. Okay, so let's stick the brake on. Parking brake is now on, and back to the overhead. And we need to start the APU. Should have actually started that when we were taxiing in, but I was too busy talking. We're going to turn off the runway light. Oh, we've done that, sorry. We're going to turn off the taxi lights. Okay, so sorry, we should have just waiting for the APU to become available, and then switch that on and shut the engines down. Okay, so that is now available, and we can now safely shut the engines down. So we just right click the mouse and then left click to switch it off, and just make sure that everything else is sorted here, which it is. So TCAS is in standby. can... Actually, we should have taken that off ages ago. I don't know why the auto brake is still on. I thought that disarmed itself automatically. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Little oversight. Yeah, there's some cool little bits and pieces that happen here. As you can see, the brake fan has come on, and to cool the brakes down, which is quite cool. And we're gonna turn the clock off now. As I say, I should have hit the chronograph button when we took off, but hey, I forgot. Right, let's see, what else do I need to do now? Everything else is off, to be honest with you. I'll turn the beacon, oh no, we'll turn the beacon off. We're now going to connect the ground power. So, we're going to the menu, options, external controls, and we're going to set the chocks as well. Back to the overhead, and you can now see that the external power is available. We're going to select that, so the aircraft is now on ground power, so we can turn the APU master off. Probe window heat can also go off, and we can set the, what else do we need on there? Stroke can go to off. And we can, let's just connect GSX now. And we'll request deboarding. And as you can see, GSX is coming round, ready to unload, so we'll go and open the doors now. And we'll also open the cargo doors. Turn the seatbelt off, seatbelt sign, and yeah, hopefully GSX will do its stuff. Okay, just before I go, I'm going to show you that nose wheel steering sticky. Sorry, the tiller sticky. Okay, so over here, this is the tiller that we've been talking about, and usually in a real Airbus you'd only be able to use the rudder deflection would only be about 6 degrees, so you need to change this tiller. Hang on a second, I've got a master caution come on. I've got a feeling brakes a second, let me just that's turned it on. Right, brake fans are on. Sorry, with that little yellow sign, I thought the brake fans operated automatically, but yeah, this is quite cool. Look at that, brake's hot. So yeah, just turn the brake fan on and it will start to cool down the wheel brakes. Okay, sorry, going back to the tiller. So anyway, the way of getting around this is to operate a sticky key, or the comma key on your keyboard, basically. And the way in which you set this up is, if you go into options, hang on a second, if you go into, right, there's actually 3 pages of options here, so you have to scroll across to the next one. And if you go into controls, and then rudder pedals, this is it basically. So the pedals control the nose wheel steering on. Okay, so I've got that on, and then this is the option for the comma, pedals, disc between sticky on. Okay, so if you turn that option on, you'll only have to press the comma once and release it, and then you can use your joystick rudder left or right to turn the aircraft. If you don't have that on, then you're going to have to keep your finger on the comma whilst you make the turn. So there's a little bit of inside information for you. Let's just go back again. Another thing is in the sounds. No, that's not it. Not sure what I did there. Oh, it's just between the captain and the first officer. Now there is actually a control in here to so you can hear the F1 called out, and I thought it was in sounds, to be honest with you, but it's not that one. So where is it? Okay, somewhere in here there is an option that you can turn on, so you can hear the F1, sorry, the V1 being called out. I can't remember where I turned it on now. I can't remember. Anyway, it's in there somewhere. I can't remember where, but it is definitely in there somewhere. Another interesting thing is this option here. Now you can align the gears realistically or fast. Realistically, it will take about 8 minutes, as I mentioned in the first episode, first part of this tutorial. So, you know, if you don't want to wait 8 minutes, then you can just change that to fast, and you won't have to wait. Obviously, that's if you're using cold. Well, actually, no, that's not quite true, because whether you're using cold or dark, or you started on on ground power unit, you still have to realign them. That's what I've found so far. So, anyway, there's another little option for you there. Okay, so that's that. So, is there anything else that I need to show you? Well, I'm sure I've forgotten something. Again, you know, I'm not perfect. I'm new to this aircraft. I'm learning how we go. I'm quite glad that we've managed to complete this tutorial, yeah, it's all good. If you've got any questions, then obviously sensible questions and comments, please, only. Then, you know, I'll come back to you as soon as I can. Obviously, I'm not a real world pilot. I'm trying to learn these things along with the rest of the community. Fantastic aircraft so far. Differs a big difference from the Aerosoft. There's a lot more input into the flight management computer, and yeah, really impressed. So yeah, it's all good. Anyway, if you want to ask me any questions, fine. Please subscribe to the channel and like it if you've enjoyed it. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Ian65. There's a Facebook link at the bottom for our Facebook page, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll see you soon on another tutorial. Thanks for watching.